हम सब सीधे बैठेंगे, कोमलता से आंखें को बंद करके शरीर को बिल्कुल शिथिल रखेंगे। लंबे सांस लेकर के लंबे सांस छोड़ेंगे। सांस छोड़ते समय ईश्वर का मुख्य निज नाम ओम का जाप करेंगे। Sit down straight with the body totally relaxed, the eyes gently closed, and feel the relaxed muscles, especially facial muscles, the neck and the shoulder muscles. Deep inhale and exhale. And while exhaling, we are going to chant the prime name of the omnipresent, omniscient, almighty, all just and all merciful Ishvara Om, followed by Gayatri Mantra in the form of bhajan. ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. Just mute yourself, please. So that it doesn't create echo. Om Bhurbhuvah Swah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. तूने हमें उत्पन्न किया, पालन कर रहा है तो तुझसे ही पाते प्राण हम। दुखियों के कष्ट हरता है तो तेरा महान तेज है, छाया हुआ सभी स्थान। सृष्टि की वास्तु वास्तु में तू हो रहा है विद्यमान। तेरा ही धरते ध्यान हम, मांगते तेरी दया। ईश्वर हमारी बुद्धि को श्रेष्ठ मार्ग पर चला, दाता हमारी बुद्धि को श्रेष्ठ मार्ग पर चला। ओम भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. Just join the palms together, rub them gently and cover the eyes. Open the eyes below the palms slowly and transfer the energy to the facial muscles. It's done mainly because when you close the eyes, the energy is focused, especially when we're doing jap or mantra part. So that energy doesn't mix with the external light, and the external light doesn't hit and blind our eyes. That's why we cover the eyes. It's one, to maintain the positive energy within ourselves, and second, not to be hit by the external light. Atheshwara Stuti Prarthna Upasana Mantra. Remember, Stuti is praise, and praise is done not to please God, because God, Ishwar, is Nirvikar, that is immutable, unchangeable. We do the praise of the virtues of Ishwar because gradually, slowly, we filter them in our daily life and in turn becomes virtuous. Pratna, prayers, and these are to be done only after putting the utmost physical and mental efforts towards realizing our righteous goals in life. And upasana, meditation, communion with Ishvara God, and that we achieve that after the stage of self-realization, realization that we are the soul within this body, and this body is only a vehicle, a medium for us to progress on the path of dharma, artha, kama, ultimately to be in moksha, mukti, in the eternal bliss of Ishvara God. Atheshwara Stuti Prarthna Upasana Mantra. Om Vishwani Deva Savitar Duritani Parasva Yadbhadram Tanna Asva. Om Hiranyagarbha Samavartatagre Bhutasya Jatah Patireikasit Sadadhara Prithivim Dyamutemam Kasmai Devaya Havisha Vidhema. Om ya atmada balada yasya vishwa upasate prashisham yasya deva yasya chayamritam yasya mrityo kasmai devaya havisha vidhema. Om yah pranato nimishato mahitvaika idra jagato babhuva ya ishe yasya dvipadasya tushpada kasmai devaya havisha vidhema. Om Prajapate Natvadetanyonyo Vishvajatani Parita Babhuva Yatkamaste Johomastanno Astu Vayam Syama Patayorainam. Om Sano Bandhurja Om Sano Bandhurjanita Savidhata Dhamani Veda Bhuvanani Vishwa Yatra Deva Amrita Manashana Spriti Dhaman Nadhyerayanta. Om Agnenaya Supataraye Sman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidwan Yuyodhyasmadjoranameno Phuishtante Namauktim Videma. Itishwar Stuti Prarthana Upasana Prakaranam. Now we'll move for Atsman. Please take water in the right palm. free Achman and 3 times take water. Take sufficient water so that when you sip it, it goes down to the throat. First Achman. Om Amritopastara Namasi Swaha. Second. Om Amrita Pidhanamasi Swaha. Third. Om Satyam Yashah Shirmai Shri Shayatam Swaha. Wash your hands. Now take water in the left palm for Angsparsh, touching various parts of the body. And remember, the first Kriya actions we did was Atsman, and the water is symbolical here, symbolizing purity, tranquility, and serenity. So let's turn these qualities into all our actions, thoughts, words, and physical actions. Angsparsh, touching the various parts of the body, praying to Ishvara God that He drives our soul, inspires the soul Atma, and Atma drives Chit, Man, Buddhi, that is the mind and the intellect. And the intellect would be just leading the organs into righteous actions on the right path. ईश्वर से हम याचना करें कि हे प्रभु, जिन इंद्रियों को हम स्पर्श करने जा रहे हो, हमारे सुपथ सन्मार्ग पर चलने के लिए हमारे सहायक बने. Kriya to be done, actions to be done at the end of the mantra. Om Vangamasyasto Om Nasorme Pranosto Om Akshanorme Chakshurasto Om Karaniyorme Shrotramasto Om Bahurme Balamasto Om Urvorma Ujusto Om Arishtani Vengani Tanustanvame Sahasanto. Lighting of the lamp at the end of the short mantra. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha. So if you have the Havan Kun, now use the camphor to introduce the fire into the Havan Kun at the end of this mantra. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Dyoriva Bhumna Prithiviva Varimna Tasyaste Prithvi Deva Yajani Prishthe Agnimanna Dhyaya Dade. Agni Samindhan mantra. To get the fire blazing, we'll sprinkle 2 free spoonfuls of ghee on that. In the olden times, we used to bring the Avaniya Agni from the kitchen and introduce into the Havan Kun. That's why we're fanning the fire. Now, since the fire is already lit, so let's put the ghee to get it blazing. Om Udbudya Svagne Pratija Grihi Tvamishta Purte San Srijetamayancha Asmin Sadhaste Adyutar Asmin Vishve Devaya Jamanasya Sidata. Samidhadan, 3 pieces of Samidha wood sticks dipped into ghee. And just remember, Samidha teaches us, once introduced into the fire, it becomes fire-like. And when it's burnt completely, it doesn't return back to wood, but it becomes ashes. Likewise, treading on the path of virtue, dharma, let's transform our life, never to go back to where we stood before. Like the Samhita becomes fire-like, we also tread on the path of dharma and become the messengers and the emblems, the symbols of dharma. Oh, first Samhita, when we say Swaha, please offer. Om Ayanta Idmatma Jata Vedaste Nedya Svardha Swachidda Vardhaya Chasman Prajaya Pashuvirma Varchase Namnadyena Samedhaya Swaha Idam Agnaye Jata Vedase Idam Namama. Second Samhita, we have two mantras here. It will be on the second Swaha that please offer the Samhita. Om Samidhagnim Duvasyata Gritervodayata Tithim Asmin Navyajotana Swaha Idam Agnaidam Namama. Om Susamidhaya Shotishe Gritam Tivram Johotana Agnaye Jata Vedase Swaha Idam Agnaye Jata Vedase Idam Namama. Third Samhita with this mantra. Om Tantva Samidbhirangiro Gritena Vardhayamasi Prihachochaya Vishtaya Swaha Idam Agnayangirase Idam Namama. So in line with what we pledged, Udbudhiya Swagne, to get the fire blazing, and then Tivram Juhotana, the ahutis would be given on blazing fire. So now Panchagreta Ahuti, offering of ghee 5 times with one and the same mantra to the holy fire to get it more blazing, because shortly after that it would be ahutis of both ghee and samagri. And the fire does one process, breaking down all the samagri and ghee to vapors and spreading them as microparticles into the atmosphere. So when we chant the mantras, let's try to take one deep breath and say the mantra, chant the mantra in one flow, one go. So that will also do our pranayam, and that takes into our lungs the vapors and do the effect of aromatherapy, boosting our health and boosting our immunity. Ghee Panchagrit Ahuti. Om Ayanta Idmatma Jata Vedaste Nedya Svardha Swachidda Vardhaya Chasman Prajaya Pashuvir Brahma Varchase Namnadyena Samedhaya Swaha Idam Agnaye Jata Vedase Idam Namama. Om Ayanta Idmatma Jata Vedaste Nedya Svardha Swachidda Vardhaya Chasman Prajaya Pashuvir Brahma Varchase Namnadyena Samedhaya Swaha Idam Agnaye Jata Vedase Idam Namama. Om Ayanta Idmatma Jata Vedaste Nedya Svardha Swachidda Vardhaya Chasman Prajaya Pashuvir Brahma Varchase Nanadyena Samedhaya Swaha Idam Agnaye Jata Vedase Idam Namama. Om Ayanta Idmatma Jata Vedaste Nedya Svardha Swachidda Vardhaya Chasman Prajaya Pashuvir Brahma Varchase Namnadyena Samedhaya Swaha Idam Agnaye Jata Vedase Idam Namama. Om Ayanta Idmatma Jata Vedaste Nedya Svardha Swachidda Vardhaya Chasman Prajaya Pashuvir Brahma Varchase Namnadyena Samedhaya Swaha Idam Agnaye Jata Vedase Idam Namama. Jal Sechanam, sprinkling of water around the Havan Kund, first in the east, Purva Disha. Om Aditenu Manyasva. Now on the west, Paschim Disha. Om Anumatenu Manyasva. North, Uttara. Om Saraswatyanu Manyasva. Now it will be all around the Havan Kun at the end of mantra. And then starting from northeast, moving clockwise, ending at northeast. Northeast has an importance in the Vedic Hindu philosophy. It's the source of light at sunrise, especially in summer. And this is called the Ishan Disha, the inspiring direction, because the light, physical light of sunrise, once it boosts our immunity by exposing our body to the morning rays of sunlight. We get natural vitamin A and D. And as well, inspires us to be enlightened in our life and enlighten the life of others. Om Deva Savita Prasuvayajyam Prasuvayajyapatim Bhagaya Divyo Gandharva Keta Puke Tanna Punatu Vachaspatir Vachanna Swadatu. Aghara Vajyahuti. The first Ahuti would be on the north, then on the south, and then in the center. The first Ahutis, north and south, will be pouring it in stream form from northwest to northeast, southwest to southeast, again proceeding towards the direction of light, to always be inspired to enlighten our lives, enlighten the lives of others. North. Om Agnaye Swaha. Idam Agnaye Dan Namama. Om Somaya Swaha. Idam Somaya Idam Namama. Om Prajapataye Swaha. Idam Prajapataye Idam Namama. Om Indraya Swaha. Idam Indraya Idam Namama. Now ahutis of both ghee and samagri. Pratakalin ahuti followed by Sayankalin ahuti. Morning, then evening, and then the mantras for both the morning and the evening. Om Suryo Jyotir Jyoti Surya Swaha. Om Suryo Varcho Jyotir Varcha Swaha. Om Jyoti Surya Suryo Jyoti Swaha. Om Sajur Devena Savitra Sajurusha Sendravatya Dushana Suryaveto Swaha. Om Bhuragnaye Pranaya Swaha. Idam Agnaye Pranaya Idam Namama. Om Bhuvarvaive Panaya Swaha. Idam Vaive Panaya Idam Namama. Om Swaradityaya Vyanaya Swaha. Idam Adityaya Vyanaya Idam Namama. Om Bhurvaswaragni Vayavaditevya Pranapan Vyanabhya Swaha. Idam Agni Vayavaditevya Pranapan Vyanabhya Idam Namama. Om Apo Jyotira Somritam Brahmavurbhuva Swarom Swaha. Om Yam Medham Devagana Pitarashopasate Tayama Madhyamedhi Agni Medhavinam Kuru Swaha. Om Vishwani Deva Savitar Durtani Parasva Yadbhadram Tannasva Swaha. Om Agnena Yaspatharaya Yasman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidwan Yuyodhyasmadjohranameno bhuishtante namoktim vidhema sma. So we've completed Agnihotra as it should be done in the morning. Now let's do it as it should be done in the afternoon. The mantras for the afternoon. Om Agnira Jyotir Jyotiragni Swaha. Om Agnir Varcho Jyotir Varcha Swaha. Om Swaha. Om Sajur Devena Savitra Sajuratrendраvatya Drushano Agniraveto Swaha.
ॐ भूरग्नये प्राणाय स्वाहा इदम् अग्नये प्राणाय इदं नमः ॐ भूर्वायवे पाणाय स्वाहा इदं वायवे पाणाय इदं नमः ॐ स्वरादित्याय व्यनाय स्वाहा इदमादित्याय व्यनाय इदं नमः ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुरग्निवायुवादितेभ्यः प्राणपानव्यानभ्यः स्वाहा इदम् अग्निवायुवादितेभ्यः प्राणपानव्यानभ्यः इदं नमः ॐ आपो ज्योतिरसोमृतं ब्रह्मभूर्भुवस्वरों स्वाहा ॐ यं मेधां देवगणपितरश्चोपासते तया मामद्य मेधि अग्निमेधाविनं कुरु स्वाहा ॐ विश्वानि देव सवितरुदुरितानि परासुव यद्भद्रं तन्नासुव स्वाहा ॐ अग्नेन यस्पथाराय यस्मान् विश्वानि देव वयुरानि विद्वान् युयोध्यस्मद्जुहुरानमेनो भूयिष्ठान्तेन मुक्तिं विधेम स्वाहा ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् स्वाहा ॐ विश्वानि देव सवितरुदुरितानि परासुव यद्भद्रं तन्नासुव स्वाहा. Celebrating currently Ram Navami. So there are no mantras in the Vedas which refers to Ram. We can only pray to God, to Ishvara, that we be inspired with the enlightened mind, the enlightened intellect, which we do in Dhyo Yona Prachodayat. Now we'll use mantras of the Yajurveda, 32nd chapter, praying to Ishvara God for Medha Buddhi, the discriminating faculty of the mind, of the intellect, to be able to distinguish between right and wrong, between virtue and vice, dharma and adharma, and thus be certain, unassuming our duties and responsibilities and shun negligence in life. That's the way to proceed to attain the bright and enlightened personality, the brilliant personality of Sri Ramchandra. It's praying, yes, but we also have to put our efforts to realize the goals, to use the discriminating faculty of the intellect. And remember that the intellect is something, the more we use, the more we apply, the more it develops. It's not a question that we use and it gets expanded and we are left with reduced amount. It's something, it's like the fan. The more we use, the more it blows the wind. The intellect is like the same. So let's pray for Medha Buddhi. Om Sadasaspati Madbhutam Priyamindrasya Kamyam Sanim Medhamaya Sisham Swaha Om Yam Medham Devagana Pitarashchopasate Tayama Madhyamedhi Agni Medhavinam Kuru Swaha Om Medham Me Varuno Dadatu Medham Agni Prajapati Medhamindrascha Vayushcha Medham Dhata Dadatu Me Swaha Om Idam Me Brahma Cha Chatram Chobhe Shriyam Ashnutam Mai Deva Dadato Shriyam Uttamam Tasyaite Swaha. Now mantras from Shiva Sankalp Sukta, the first and last mantra of the Shiva Sankalp Sukta, so that we also become with a kind-hearted, compassionate person. Om Yajyagrato Duramudaiti Daivam Tadusuptasya Tathaivaiti Durangamam Jyotisham Jyotirekantan Me Mana Shiva Sankalpamastu Swaha Om Susharathi Rashvani Vayan Manushyane Niyate Bhishubhirvajinaiva Pritpratishtam Yadajiram Davishtam Tanme Mana Shiva Sankalpamastu Swaha. Prayers to be fearless in life, ओम अभयम मित्रादभयम ज्ञातादभयम परोक्षात् अभयम नक्तं भयम दीवाना सर्वाशाम मित्रं भवन्तु स्वाहा. The next mantra is prayer to Ishwar God. Ishwar being the omnipresent Almighty, we pray to God, you are the all-forceful one, gives us vigor, vitality, and patience in life. ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् स्वाहा. ॐ तेजोसि तेजोमयि धेहि वीर्यमसि वीर्यं मयि धेहि बलमसि बलं मयि धेहि ओजोसि ओजो मयि धेहि मन्योरसि मन्युं मयि धेहि सहोसि सहो मयि धेहि स्वाहा. Now we are going to close towards the close of the Havan. Let's get the kids to chant Gayatri Mantra 3 times and Trayambakam Yajamahe 3 times, ending with Swaha so that we'll be able to give the ahutis at the end of the mantras. So Aryan and Yash, please proceed. A bit loud, please, so that we can hear you clearly. Now we are not able to hear. Yeah, that's good.
Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsavidurvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat Swaha. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsavidurvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat Swaha.
ओम त्र्यंबकं यजामहे सुगंधिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् स्वाहा. ओम त्र्यंबकं यजामहे सुगंधिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् स्वाहा. ओम त्र्यंबकं यजामहे सुगंधिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् स्वाहा.
Swishtakrita hoti, ghee and prasad if you have, otherwise only ghee. Om yadasya karmanotyariricam yadyanonmihakaram agnishta shrishta kridvidyat sarvam swishtam suhutam karotu me agnaye shrishta krite suhutahute sarvprayashrita uttenam kamanam samardhetre sarvana कामान् समर्धय स्वाहा. इदम् अग्नये श्रेष्ठगते इदं नमः. 1 ahuti of ghee. Om स्वाहा idam prajapataye idam namah. Ghee and samagri for purnahuti. Om sarvam vai purnam swaha. Om sarvam vai purnam swaha. Om sarvam vai purnam swaha. Put everything down, join the palms together, Mahavamdev Yagan, 3 mantras from Samved, praying to Ishwar God, He Ishwar hame sukh, shanti aur samriddhi pradhan kijiye, praying for sukh, happiness, shanti, peace, samriddhi, prosperity. Om Bhurvuvah Swaha. Om Bhurvuvah Swaha. कया नश्चित्रा भुवदूति सदा वृद्धा सखा कया शचीष्ठया वृता ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः कस्त्वा सत्यो मदानाम् मङ्गीष्ठो मत्सदन्धस द्विदाचिदारुजेवसु ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः अभीष्टो न सखीनामवीता चरित्रनाम् शतं भवास्युतये ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः। यज्ञ प्रार्थना प्लीज।
पूजनीय प्रभु हमारे भाव उज्ज्वल कीजिए, छोड़ देवे छल कपट को मानसिक बल दीजिए। वेद की बोले ऋचाए सत्य को धारण करें, हर्ष में हो मग्न सारे शोक सागर से तरे। अश्वमेधादिक रचाए यज्ञ पर उपकार को, धर्म मर्यादा चलाकर लाभ दे संसार को। नित्य श्रद्धा भक्ति से यज्ञादि हम करते रहे, रोग पीड़ित विश्व के संताप सब हरते रहे। भावना मिट जाए मन से पाप अत्याचार की, कामनाएं पूर्ण होवे यज्ञ से नर नार की। लाभकारी हो हवन हर जीवधारी के लिए, वायु जल सर्वत्र हो शुभ गंध को धारण किए। स्वार्थ भाव मिटे हमारा प्रेम पथ विस्तार हो, इदम न मम का सार्थक प्रत्येक में व्यवहार हो। प्रेम रस में मग्न होकर वंदना हम कर रहे, नाथ करुणा रूप करुणा आपकी सब पर रहे। पूजनीय प्रभु हमारे भाव उज्ज्वल कीजिए, छोड़ देवे छल कपट को मानसिक बल दीजिए, प्रभु आत्मिक बल दीजिए।
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। दया करो भगवान सब पर, दया करो भगवान सब पर कृपा करो हे महान, सबका सब विधि हो कल्याण। हे ईश सब सुखी हो, कोई न हो दुखारी, सब हो निरोग भगवान। धन धान्य के भंडारी, सब भद्र भाव देखें, सन्मार्ग के पथिक हों, दुखिया न कोई होवे, सृष्टि में प्राणधारी। हे नाथ सब सुखी हो, कोई न हो दुखारी। सब हो निरोग भगवन, धन धान्य के भंडारी। त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव, त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव। त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव, त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव। त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव।
Let's move to Ashirvad, blessings. Join the palms together, close the eyes gently, and be aware that Ishwar God is showering the blessings over all of us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's for us to become the appropriate recipients and not be the colando or the strainer below the tap. So we need to make ourselves the appropriate recipient for the grace of Ishvara within our life. Om Satya Santo Yajamanasya Kama. Om Purna Santo Yajamanasya Kama. Om Safala Santo Yajamanasya Kama. May the wishes of the Yajaman be truthful. The truthful wishes of the Yajaman be accomplished and will be accomplished with 100% success. Swasti Mantra. Om Swasti na Indro Vridhashava Swasti na Pusha Vishvaveda Swasti na Saksharyo Arishtanimi Swasti no Brihaspatir Dadhatu Om Bhadram Karnevi Shnuyam Deva Bhadram Pashyemakshabhirayatra Stirairangeshtoshtamang Sastanurabhirvyashemahi Devahitam Yadayu Om Swasti 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Word of gratitude. Be thankful to Ishvara God for having given us the day of today to be able to participate in this satsang, for the knowledge of the Vedas that has been transmitted to us through the rishis and gurus, and for the means that we've been able to put up to do this yaj. Also be grateful to Ishvara God for the gurus and the parents, the elderly whom we had in our life to guide us, to mentor us, and to all those who've directly or indirectly contributed to make this year of today a success. Thank you. Now for bhajan, please. Volunteers. Yeah, Premji, proceed.
मिलता है सच्चा सुख केवल भगवान तुम्हारे चरणों में, भगवान तुम्हारे चरणों में। यह विनती है पल पल छिन छिन रहे ध्यान तुम्हारे चरणों में, रहे ध्यान तुम्हारे।
Premji, unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So you didn't hear me at all?
No, we hear the first part.
Okay, thank you.
You
चाहे
can restart, no problem.
संसार बने, चाहे जीवन मुझ पर भार बने, चाहे मौत गले का हार बने, रहे ध्यान तुम्हारे चरणों में, रहे ध्यान तुम्हारे चरणों में। मिलता है सच्चा सुख केवल भगवान तुम्हारे चरणों में, भगवान तुम्हारे चरणों में। चाहे संकट ने मुझे घेरा हो, चाहे चारों ओर अंधेरा हो, पर मन ना डगमग मेरा हो, रहे ध्यान तुम्हारे चरणों में, रहे ध्यान तुम्हारे चरणों में। मिलता है सच्चा सुख केवल भगवान तुम्हारे चरणों में, भगवान तुम्हारे चरणों में। चाहे कांटों पर ही चलना हो, चाहे अग्नि में भी जलना हो, चाहे छोड़ के देश निकलना हो, रहे ध्यान तुम्हारे चरणों में, रहे ध्यान तुम्हारे चरणों में। मिलता है सच्चा सुख केवल भगवान तुम्हारे चरणों में, भगवान तुम्हारे चरणों में। जीवा पर तेरा नाम रहे, तेरी याद सुबह और शाम रहे, बस याद आठों धाम रहे, रहे ध्यान तुम्हारे चरणों में, रहे ध्यान तुम्हारे चरणों में। मिलता है सच्चा सुख केवल भगवान तुम्हारे चरणों में, भगवान तुम्हारे चरणों में। ये विनती है पल पल छिन छिन, रहे ध्यान तुम्हारे चरणों में, रहे ध्यान तुम्हारे चरणों में। धन्यवाद।
बहुत
Thank
अच्छा
you,
लगा,
Premji, for
बहुत
this
अच्छा लगा।
inspiring bhajan.
वेरी गुड।
Next is,
Priyam, I will
yes, go ahead.
try. आज मिल सब गीत गाओ, उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। आज मिल सब गीत गाओ, उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। जिसका यश नित गाते हैं गंधर्व मुनि जन, धन्यवाद। आज मिल सब गीत गाओ, उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। मंदिरों में कंदरों में, पर्वतों के शिखर पर, मंदिरों में कंदरों में, पर्वतों के शिखर पर, देते हैं लगातार 100 100 बार आज मिल सब गीत गाओ, उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। करते हैं जंगल में मंगल, पक्षी गण हर शाख पर। करते हैं जंगल में मंगल, पक्षी गण हर शाख पर। पाते हैं आनंद मिल गाते हैं स्वर भर धन्यवाद। आज मिल सब गीत गाओ, उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। कुएं में तालाब में सिंधु की गहरी धार में। कुएं में तालाब में सिंधु की गहरी धार में। प्रेम रस में तृप्त होकर ते हैं जलचर धन्यवाद। आज मिल सब गीत गाओ, उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। शादियों में कीर्तनों में यज्ञ और उत्सव के बाद। शादियों में कीर्तनों में यज्ञ और उत्सव के बाद। मीठे स्वर से चाहिए करे नारी नर सब धन्यवाद। आज मिल सब गीत गाओ, उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। गान कर अमी चंद भजना, नंद ईश्वर की स्तुति। गान कर अमी चंद भजना, नंद ईश्वर की स्तुति। ध्यान धर सुनते हैं श्रोता, कान धर धर धन्यवाद। आज मिल सब गीत गाओ, उस प्रभु के धन्यवाद। थैंक यू आचार्य जी। थैंक यू एवरीवन।
Thank you. That's another inspiring. Prabhu ko dhanyavad is about gratitude. And that's an important feature of life, because when we express gratitude, we transfer all the credit of whatever we've done to Ishwar God, and that goes in the concept of Ishwar Pranidhan in yoga. Thank you, Priyamji. So next, for bhajan, please. Hanji, Usha ji, please.
भीतर है सखा तेरा जरा मन लगा के देख, अंतःकरण में ज्ञान की ज्योति जला के देख। भीतर है सखा तेरा जरा मन लगा के देख, अंतःकरण में ज्ञान की ज्योति जला के देख। है इंद्रियों की शक्तियां बाहर की ओर जो, है इंद्रियों की शक्तियां बाहर की ओर जो। बाहर की ओर से उन्हें भीतर को मोड़ दो। बाहर की ओर से उन्हें भीतर को मोड़ दो। कर सकल द्वार बंद समाधि लगा के देख, अंतःकरण में ज्ञान की ज्योति जला के देख। भीतर है सखा तेरा जरा मन लगा के देख, अंतःकरण में ज्ञान की ज्योति जला के देख। शुद्ध आत्मा से उसकी रचना का ध्यान कर, शुद्ध आत्मा से उसकी रचना का ध्यान कर, निश्चय ही झूम जाएगा महिमा का ज्ञान कर, निश्चय ही झूम जाएगा महिमा का ज्ञान कर। श्रद्धा की देवी रूठी है इसको मना के देख, अंतःकरण में ज्ञान की ज्योति जगा के देख। मिलता है सुख देश इसी ही उपाय से, मिलता है सुख देश इस ही उपाय से, मिलता नहीं कदापि अन्यत्र जाए से। ईश्वर की वाणी वेद है तू आजमा के देख, ईश्वर की वाणी वेद है तू आजमा के देख, अंतःकरण में ज्ञान की ज्योति जगा के देख। भीतर है सखा तेरा जरा मन लगा के देख, अंतःकरण में ज्ञान की ज्योति जगा के देख, अंतःकरण में ज्ञान की ज्योति जगा के देख। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Ushaji. That's also an inspiring bhajan. Antakaran mein dekh. So driving in within the inner self. That's moving on the spiritual path. Anybody else? Otherwise, Dhananjay ji for the welcome, please.
Namaste everyone. Welcome to the Hindu Center of Atlanta's weekly Satsang program. Thank you Premji, Ushaji and Premvadaji for the beautiful bhajans. We are celebrating Ram Navami. On this occasion, we are remembering Maryada Purushottam Sri Ramchandra ji. We are remembering his qualities. We are trying to get those qualities in our life also. We pray to the God that we get all those qualities of Bhagavan Sri Ramchandra. We also aspire to have a similar kind of country, similar kind of health, wealth for the people of Ayodhya like they had at that time. We also aspire for similar kind of regions or country everywhere. Acharya will enlighten us more about the Ram Raj and Bhagwan Sri Ram. Acharya ji.
Yeah. Voice is clear from me. Om Namaste, everybody, and welcome. I would just try to make one departure from what we usually do. Let's listen in one line or two lines what each and everybody gets from the life of Sri Ram or from the Ramayana, which you've learned in your life. So in a few words, in two maximum free lines, let's hear what you've learned and what you can apply from the life of Sri Ram.
Do we need to tell you?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we listen to you,
Is that a
each and
question?
everybody, 2 free lines. Not long, but 2 free lines. Just one thing which you've learned and you're applying in your life.
I can start with me. I learned from Bhagwan Sri Ram that whether you are in a good mood or bad mood, or whether you are in the good phase of life or bad phase of life, like you are the king or whether you are in exile, you should be satisfied, and you should do according to the needs. We should not be unhappy. Whatever life brings you, you should uh, be happy in all the conditions.
Thank you. Somebody else?
मर्यादा पुरुषम कहते थे ना कि वो मर्यादा के अंदर रहते थे, और दूसरा ये है कि उन्होंने अपने पिता की आज्ञा मानी, चाहे और
Yes.
It's from the point of view that what we've learned and we apply in our life.
आज्ञा का पालन किया, पिता की आज्ञा का पालन किया। उन्होंने सोचा नहीं कि मुझे करना है कि नहीं करना, लेकिन उन्होंने कहा, पिता ने कहा, माँ ने कहा, तो उन्होंने आज्ञा का पालन किया एंड अपनी मर्यादा में रहे। उसकी he wanted
good.
to ask for him.
Next, please.
I will try.
Yeah.
First of all, if we say Bhagwan Sri Ram, he really deserved that title. He was really the Murat of patience, kindness, intelligence. He was very keeping his words, Maryada, like Mataji just said, Maryada mein rehte the, and he was always honoring his promise. And
let's not describe the personality of Sri Ram. Let's try to just give what we've learned and we are applying in our daily life. What we are applying more, that is more important. What we are applying in our daily life.
Patience. We learn from him that we have to be patient in life and be careful of what we say and what we are doing, and always walk on the right path, trusting God, keep going forward. That's what we
That's
follow.
good. Thank you. Somebody else?
आचार्य जी, मेरा एक प्रश्न है। आपका तो अच्छा प्रश्न पूछ रहे हैं, लेकिन अगर बेटा नहीं मानता है बाप की बात, तो रामायण से क्या सीख सकता है, ये बताइए।
Okay, I'll deal with that within my lecture.
Yeah, because that is very seriously prevalent social problem throughout the world, and throughout even India and throughout since Ramayana. So please, how to approach that problem? Then it will be worthwhile. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll deal with that within my lecture.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody else?
Hello?
Yeah.
He was an obedient son, and whatever he promised to his father, he kept it. And I have tried in my life to, if I promise something, I try to follow it, I try to fulfill it. That is my aim in life. That if I promise something, I will fulfill it under any circumstances.
That's good.
Thank you.
Somebody else?
A very calm person. Namaste, Ji.
Namaste.
I'm from Vancouver.
Yeah.
A very calm personality, which I try to
put in your life.
For my life.
Yeah. Then I think we are left with Usha ji, Pandita ji, and Anand ji.
Acharya ji, Pandita ji, kuch kehna chahte?
Yes.
Namaste, everyone. Most of all, Acharya ji, I love the
I love listening to the Chaupai chanting, the Dohas, and so because they have great lessons. Sri Ram was the ideal person with lots of good virtues. And if we can put one or two of those, like Mahanji just said, that it's good to stand on our word. There is a Chaupai compared to that too. We must always, whatever we promise, try to live up to that promise. Thank you. Next thing.
Namaste. Are you hearing?
Yes, Namaste ji.
Am I clear? Hello?
Yeah, that's good.
Whatever I have to say, I'll say it in one short line. Suno janani soi sutta barbagi jo kito matu bachana.
I don't think he got the
Breaths.
I don't know.
Tried throughout my life to do the same.
He's so serious, man.
Thank you.
I really think that the looks too.
Okay, I think the voice is not coming to us.
Hello?
Yeah, now that is clear.
I was quoting a Chaupai which says, Suno janani soi sutta barbagi jo kitomatu vachana anuragi. He obeyed his parents. He carried out their wishes and desires. And I tried in my life to do that likewise. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you. So, Usha ji?
Acharya ji, it was a very good exercise.
Yeah. It's getting the mind working.
Yes.
Usha ji, in one, two lines.
He always followed the path of dharma and he was true to his words. Whatever he would say, he would stick to it. And I try my best to follow the path of truth. And in our thus Niyam, also 10 principle of Arya Samaj says Sada Satya Bolo, Satya ki raah par chalna chahiye. So I'm trying my best to follow, and that is our Vedic Dharma. He was a Vedic scholar. So he also used to do the yajna, and that is what we should follow. That Ram was also doing the yajna every day. That was our true religion. So that is what I try to follow.
Thank you, ji. So, namaste, everybody, and welcome to the satsang of today. I just had a departure from that just to get a bit of what we try to learn and apply from the life of Maryada Purushottam Sri Ram Chandraji. We refer to Sri Ram Chandraji as Bhagwan. Bhagwan has one meaning, benefactor. Benefactor because he was a benefactor to the parents, to friends, to the population of Ayodhya, and even to the population of Lanka, liberated them from the claws of Ravan. Ramayana, the source is Valmiki Ramayana. That's the authentic one because we have more than 4,500 versions and translations of the Ramayana. And each and everybody who has translated or
putting his own version, has added a bit of the spices from his side. So if we have to go on what is authoritative in the Ramayana, let's go to the Valmiki Ramayana. Just to get back to the question of Dr. Chandora about if we have children and children are not listening to us. Unfortunately, we've crossed a period when the children are grown up. It's difficult now to bring them on the line. But if we go in the concept of trying to build a new generation, it starts well before conception. And the guidance is from Garbhadhan Sanskar, which is the equivalent in Putreshti Yaj, which King Dashrath performs before begetting the four sons, Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna. Nevertheless, we shouldn't despair. We should, when the children are grown up, even if they don't listen, we should be patient. We should try to listen first, and then give them the guidance. We can only put up our efforts at that point in time. And remember, as we say, Prarthana se pehle Purusharth. So if we put up all our efforts and we don't despair, in due course, in due time, the fruits will come. As Kabir ji has put it, Dhire Dhire Re Mana Dhire Sab Kuch Hoy, Mali Siche Saugara Ritu Ai Phal Hoy. So we have to be patient, and we have to put up ceaseless efforts. As the Yog Darshan put it, Sado Dev Kale Nairantariya Satkara Sevito Drer Bhumi. Continuous striving over a long period of time with passion, dedication will surely reach the goals. But the Ramayana is in itself enlightening in the sense that if we want to build up the nation by creating a new generation of people who would be ethical in life throughout, that starts with, let's take the concept of Putreshti Yaj in the Ramayana, where Dashrath married for a long time, that didn't give any issue, gets to Rishi Vashisht, who was the guiding scholar of the family, and he was given the suggestion by the ministers also to proceed with Putreshti Yaj, and he was told to go to Shringa Rishi, invite him to conduct that Yaj. And Shringa Rishi came to him, stayed with him for quite some time. Then in the month of Chaitra, 1 year before Sri Ramchandra Ji is born, the proceedings to do the Yaj starts. So when Shringa Rishi comes to stay in the kingdom of Ayodhya with Dashrath, he gives the guidance. And the guidance is about righteous ahar, vichar, vyohar. Food and drinks be under strict control, and the concept of Ayurveda, and we see in the Balakand it mentions the Divya Payasam. That's a concoction of food with medicinal herbs to boost up the potency of the husband and the wife, etc., which is described also by Maharshi Dayananda Saraswati in the Garbhadhan Sanskar, and is there in the Charak and Shushruta Samhita, the authoritative text on Ayurveda. And it says, take care of ahar, vichar, and vyohar. So the food and drinks, the physical, mental state, and the behavioral patterns. So it's not only a concept of the two spouses to be careful of that, but to all those in the surroundings. Like if we're living in a joint family, then it has to be taken care by the other people staying within that same household also. We have much less influence on the external, but if everybody in the household are careful, then our Shiva will make sons and daughters like Sri Ram and Sita. So I wouldn't go into the life story of Sri Ram, which we hear so many times, we learn, we read and everything. I would like to look into what are the life lessons that we can learn from the Ramayana. One, we started with the concept of Putrishti, it's for good management of the next generation. Just as the farmers go into the field, first they do the clearing of the land, then plowing of the land, putting the proper fertilizers, the proper seeds, tendering to the seeds till they germinate, and then extra care during the tender shoots or tender plants. And then when they are grown up, care for them to give the good harvest. This is what we have to do, even if it means a new generation. Then we see when they grow up, they get a holistic approach of education. They are taught the spiritual sciences, the sciences of how to live day-to-day life. And as they grow up, they also taught about political sciences, good governance in society. They also taught about military science. So it's a holistic approach to education. It's not only the 3 hours reading, writing, and arithmetic. And to embolden the personality of Sri Ram, to brighten, polish the personality of Sri Ram, this is where Rishi Vishwamitra comes into the game and asks Dashrath to allow Sri Ram to go with him and to fight the demons. But also it was an opportunity that Rishi Vishwamitra used to give the science of warfare, Dhanurveda, to Sri Ram. Then we see when the coronation of Sri Ram is being planned by Dashrath, we see the influence of mantra on Kaikeyi. Before that, let's learn. Never give a blanket promise to anybody that whenever you come to ask me for anything, I'll give it to you, because you will never know what that person will come to ask. This is the fault of Dashrath, and never repeat those. It was probably an error, an omission on his part, and he paid for that. But then that becomes also the plot of the Ramayana. Mantra comes into the game to show us the influence of bad association, bad company. Mantra came with her own concept, and Kaikeyi there failed to use her discriminating faculty of the mind. Though she was the mother of the Bharat, till the coronation didn't happen, the most beloved child among the 4 by the 3 mothers was always Ram. But coming under the influence of Mantra, she insists that Bharat be crowned king and Ram goes to exile. But then look at the magnanimity of Bharat. He steps in to be the ruler on behalf of Sri Ram. He doesn't become the king, but he rules on behalf of. So delegation. Then we see both Dashrath and Bharat, and later Sri Ram, taking the concept of service to the people of Ayodhya. It's service to the people of Ayodhya, the concept of what we know in management as servant leadership. And the concept of servant leadership brings us to the other step. The other step, the other concept there is not to be attached to whatever posts that we hold in life. In fact, never be attached to anything in life, because one day will come when we have to depart this life, this earth, and everything will be left behind. The concept that they uphold is dharma throughout. And this is what we learn from the Ramayana. The mission of life is to vanquish the evil that may crop up within us, to subjugate those and make goodness prevail in our life. Then we come to the episode that when Ram has to leave for the forest. Remember, on the evening he was told that he would be crowned king the next morning, and the next morning he gets the orders which are reversed. He has to leave for exile and Bharat to be crowned king. But then Sri Ramji shows the level-headedness, and that is the quality of an Arya. Sukh dukh mein rahe saman. Adverse situations or favorable situations doesn't change my inner peace. Then the question comes, when Bharat comes to tell Ram, you come back to the kingdom, rule on the kingdom in your name, I'm not going to sit on the throne. Ram is faced with the question of whether he be the real Ram or he has to choose between a life of Aram. He could have gone back to the kingdom at the request of Bharat, but then he gave his word to his father and he chose to live the life of an ascetic, tapasya ki jivan, and that which ultimately when he takes the seat of the king after the exile, he becomes also an exemplary ruler because he's known the pains of life and he's learned from that. Then look at the level of spirituality prevailing in Ayodhya. In Valmiki Ramayana, it says there was no thief. Everybody was trying to work out for the common good. And everybody was doing yajya sandhya mantra jap daily. And this is not my word, these are the words of Rishi Valmiki from the Ramayana. So for one question comes in, when we say Bhagavan Sri Ram, it's not God or God incarnate. Because Maharishi Valmiki himself refers to Sri Ramchandra ji are Narottam. Naro mein Uttam. As we say Purushottam, the highest qualities in human beings. And we see the qualities that Sri Ram reveals is all the humaneness in him. And in the words of Valmiki ji, it says, Dhairya yukt, patience, dharmajya, following dharma, kritajya, gratitude, satyavadi, truthful, drir pratijya, to stay put on his vows, on his pledge, on his promise. Kam krodha adi, ka vijeta. He had full control on himself. Then, Kanti Yukt, he had such a brilliant personality that people came to him just like the rivers go to the sea. And this is the reference from Valmiki Ramayana. And then, Buddhiman, intelligent, Nitijya, a fine strategist, Madhur Bhashi, sweet spoken, Shatru Nashak, destroyer of not only the external enemies, but also the internal enemies. So we see all these characteristics in the life of Sri Ram. And from that, what we learn ahead is the goal is dharma, dharma, and dharma. Ravan is killed in the name of dharma to reestablish dharma. Bali also is killed to reestablish dharma within the kingdom of the Vanaras, the forest dwellers. Remember, Vanaras are the forest dwellers. So that is one of the goals, or the main goal of life. Then see the greatness of the relationship, sibling relationship. Ram, being the eldest, leads everybody as a role model. When Bharat comes to meet Ram, Ram is on the path of going to exile. Lakshman gets angry. He thinks that Bharat is coming to disturb them. Then Ram brings him back to reason. Brings Bharat to reason that you have been given the order to rule for, I'm going to exile, so you please go and do that. And Shatrughna becomes the right hand of Bharat during the 14 years of rule by Bharat on behalf of Ram. And Lakshmana are the right hand. Do we have such sibling relationship today? Then look at the concept of bhakti, devotion. The brothers devoted to Sri Ram. They don't pray to Sri Ram, they don't do the arti of Sri Ram, but they follow the instructions, the guidance. Even Hanumanji, who is known as Param Bhakta of Sri Ram, he stays at the feet of Sri Ram just to follow the orders, the instructions. Then the other event from which we have to learn, beware of traps, beware of pitfalls. When marriage disguises as the golden deer and lays the trap. Though Ram within himself knew that a golden deer doesn't exist, but on this insistence of Sita, he goes ahead. And when marriage is dying, he cries, "O Lakshman, O Sita." Sita thinks it's Ram. He's just doing the mimicry of the voice of Sri Ram. Sita thinks it's the voice of Sri Ram and insists to Lakshman to go ahead to save Sri Ram. So we never fall into the traps. Let's use our logic. Give ourselves, as in the philosophy of yoga, give a pose, and that pose will enable us to listen to our inner voice and be on the right path. Then look at Shabri, the episode of Shabri. Tulsi Ramayana refers to Shabri as being turned into stone. No. Shabri does the penance in the ashram and waits for Sri Ram for the enlightenment before departing this world. And Shabri was waiting for that moment. Then realize the importance of names in our life. When parents gave us names, there was an ideal behind that. Ram means Anand Dene Wala. That's in Sanskrit, Ramasya. And that word, it's Ramaya. Ramaya means Anandena, the one who strives to bring happiness to others. Lakshman, Lakshya, straight to the aim. Bharat, intelligence. And Shatrughna, one who defeats all the inner and outer enemies. Dashrath, one whose fame was spread in the 10 directions, and second, he had full command on the senses, thus Indriyopara. But then he lost because he gave a blanket promise to Kaikeyi. And then Puttaramo, that shows even people at the highest level can lay foot on the banana peels, and we have to be very careful. Then look at Hanuman. The real word is Hanumant. And the word Kapish, which we use, Kapi means intelligent, learned scholar. Unfortunately, we take it from the Hindi word and relate it to monkeys. But the real meaning from Sanskrit comes as learned scholar. And look at the dedication, the honesty which Hanumant, exemplifies devotion, bhakti. And this is what leads him to overcome the obstacles and go into the search of Sita and comes back with the good news. And then look at the Vanar Sena, the forest dwellers, with the limited resources, but very, very focused. They realize the goals. And Ravan in Sanskrit, the definition goes as Garajne Wala. And really, he's known to be angry, and when he's shouting in anger, that goes into the 10 directions. That's why he's given the name of Dashan. But then when we think about Rama as somebody patient, we see him lose his patience when Sita is kidnapped, but Lakshman brings him to reason. So that's Bandhu siblings duty. When he loses his patience, when Lakshman is hit by an arrow and goes unconscious, then Jamban and Hanuman and the others bring him to reason. So these are the duties of friends also. When somebody is going astray, bring him to reason. You be patient, and with continuous striving, we'll be able to bring that person on the right track. Then we see on the reverse side, Meghnad, the son of Ravan, he knows his father is wrong, but blindly follows the father. Whereas Vibhishan does the reverse. He gives the correct advice to Ravan and he's kicked out. Then he joins sides with Sri Ram. Vibhishan, when he's awakened, he tries his most to bring Ravan to reason. But when Ravan fails, he also forgets about Dharma, just join Ravan there. And in the end, gets killed. Then Ravan gets that fate because of his arrogance. He knew Ram was a better strategist than him, though he was more knowledgeable than Ram. But then Ravan also have some qualities. He was an ideal ruler till he was not taken up by arrogance, by lust. And as the Tulsi Ramayana puts it, Vinash Kale Viparit Buddhi. So the first thing was the mind, the intellect went on the wrong path. But then when he's kidnapped Sita, he knew that this was a wrong action. He never touched Sita because Sita didn't agree to that. So that is the way she respects Sita as a lady. In spite of being arrogant, in spite of being under the influence of lust, attraction, moha, maya, etc. And remember the other part of it, big or small. If we are dedicated to our cause, we do the striving. Remember the Vanar Sena in front of the army of Ravan. The Vanar Sena and Ram were only a few. And the army of Ravan was a mighty army. So big or small, when we are dedicated to our cause, when we are on the right path, we'll surely succeed in life. Then remember also, when we get advice, let's use our logic. And if there are logic and truth in the advice, let's follow that. Kaikeyi was wrong in following mantra, but Ram was right in following Vibhishan to give the fatal blow to Ravan. Then at the end of it, when Ram comes back to Ayodhya, that starts the Ram Rajya. And he follows the what has come into the Raghukul. From Ikshvaku down to Raghu, they were all righteous rulers, where nobody was a pauper, nobody was a thief, nobody had unbecoming character. Everybody was respectful to the others. And the hierarchy was well respected in society. The educators were doing their job rightly. That is the Brahman, the Kshatriya, those responsible for good governance were there. And Valmiki puts it that even the ministers, the 8 key ministers which Dashrath had, if somebody within their kins failed, they didn't hesitate 1 second to apply the discipline and the rules there. Are we ready to do that? Are we ready to give up the seats for the welfare of the people? Are we ready to become like-minded, like the people of Ayodhya? During the rule of Dashrath, during the 14 years Bharat ruled on behalf of Sri Ram, and during the Ram Rajya, where it was all a flourishing rule. The rule of law prevailed, the rule of logic prevailed, the rule of dharma prevailed, where people loved each other. The way of behavior was as in the rule of principles of the Arya Samaj, Priti Purvak Dharmanusar, with lots of compassion. So if we try to put these things, simple things in our life, we'll also, as we say, become Ram of the contemporary times. So I just hope I've been able to shed some light on how the life of Sri Ram may inspire us to be better persons for our own self, for our family, for our relatives and friends, and for society at large. Wish you all well. Remember of Ram Navami. On that day, wake up as Ram and the others did, always wake up before sunrise, get involved into the daily routine of having the bath and everything, then sit down for prayers, for meditation. And if you can do Havan, that's fine. Otherwise, you can do micro yads with the diya and the ghee and samagri mixed up And when the swaha comes, you give the ahuti to the lamp with the standing wick. Remember Paramam Japam in the Valmiki Ramayana is about Gayatri Mantra Jap. So spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes doing Gayatri Mantra Jap and go on this trend, because the vibrations of Gayatri Mantra silences our own mind. And this is what unfolds our intellect to be enlightened intellect. And if we do these small things that Sri Ramji was doing in his daily routine, there was time for prayer, time for meditation, time for mantra jap, time for learning, time to be compassionate to others, time to express our humane characteristics to others. So if we spread that all around, we'll create a better world. Thank you for your attention. I just hope, wish you well in these times. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Acharya ji, for such a beautiful explanation of about Bhagwan Sri Ram and his kingdom and everything. Just for a reminder, we have Sanatan Dharm Simplified for the kids every Friday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Saturday 10:30 for the weekly satsang, and Sunday we have the spiritual learning for the adults 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you everyone for joining. Now we will proceed with the Aarti.
Om Jai Jagdish Hare Swami Jai Jagdish Hare भक्त जनों के संकट दास जनों के संकट क्षण में दूर करे ओम जय जगदीश हरे जो ध्यावे फल पावे दुख बिन से मन का प्रभु दुख बिन से मन का सुख संपत्ति घर आवे सुख संपत्ति घर आवे कष्ट मिटे तन का ओम जय जगदीश हरे मात पिता तुम मेरे शरण गहूँ मैं किसकी स्वामी शरण गहूँ मैं किसकी तुम बिन और न दूजा प्रभु बिन और न दूजा आस करूं मैं जिसकी ओम जय जगदीश हरे तुम पूर्ण परमात्मा तुम अंतर्यामी स्वामी तुम अंतर्यामी पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर तुम सबके स्वामी ओम जय जगदीश हरे तुम करुणा के सागर तुम पालन करता स्वामी तुम मैं सेवक तुम स्वामी मैं सेवक तुम स्वामी कृपा करो भरता ओम जय जगदीश हरे तुम हो एक अगोचर सबके प्राणपति स्वामी सबके प्राणपति किस विधि मिलूं दया में किस विधि मिलूं दया में तुमको मैं कुमति ओम जय जगदीश हरे दीन बंधु दुख हरता तुम रक्षक मेरे स्वामी तुम रक्षक मेरे अपने हाथ उठाओ अपने हाथ उठाओ द्वार पड़ा मैं तेरे ओम जय जगदीश हरे विषय विकार मिटाओ पाप हरो देवा स्वामी पाप हरो देवा श्रद्धा भक्ति बढ़ाओ श्रद्धा भक्ति बढ़ाओ संतन की सेवा ओम जय जगदीश हरे। स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे। भक्त जनों के संकट दास जनों के संकट क्षण में दूर करे ओम जय जगदीश हरे।
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Okay, voice is clear. We have the daily sessions on the occasion of Ram Navami, talking about the Ramayana, the life of Sri Ram. We had 4 sessions, and all the 4 recordings are available on YouTube. So it's live streaming on Facebook and YouTube, and the videos are there, and I also shared them on WhatsApp and Facebook. So you may also join us there, or you can view it at your leisure. And let's, as we say, put ourselves into the shoes of Sri Ram and brighten our personality. Now moving on to Shanti part.
Acharya, just one suggestion. If when somebody sings bhajan, all those who are watching, they may also join in the bhajan satsang, so that way it will have a double effect.
It makes an echo, Dr. Ji.
Because they are singing themselves while it is mute, but for them it becomes much more reverberating the same wordings of the bhajan.
Yeah, but then I can hear an echo of my own voice now. It becomes like this.
No, they are all muted, right? So person who sings bhajan, with them, anybody who is watching, they also start singing.
Yeah, they sing on their side, but keep their mic on mute.
Yeah, keep the mic on mute and start singing, so that way anybody nearby them will also listen and they will also get the feedback.
Yeah, and share the vibrations also. So let's move to Shanti part.
Acharya ji, can you send me the link for this Ramayana session so I can listen to them?
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So let's move for Shanti part now. With the 4 lines of Ashirvad. भगवान इस परिवार को सुख का सदा वरदान दो, ज्ञान की गंगा बहाकर शुद्ध वैदिक ज्ञान दो, निरोग होकर सब पिए शतवर्ष आयुष्मान हो, धन धान्य से पूरित सदा यश युक्त कीर्तिमान हो, पुत्र पौत्रादिक सभी बलवान हो, श्रीमान हो, विद्वान हो, मतिमान हो, धर्मात्मा धीमान हो। ओम द्यौ शांति, अंतरिक्षम शांति, पृथ्वी शांति, आपः शांति, ओषधयः शांति, वनस्पतयः शांति, विश्वे देवाः शांति, ब्रह्म शांति, Sarvam Shanti Shantireva Shanti Sama Shantiredhi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Universal prayers for peace. O God, by your grace, may the celestial regions be peaceful, Antariksh, the space, be peaceful, Prithvi, the earth, be peaceful, Apah, the waters, be peaceful, Oshadhaya, the seasonal crops and medicinal plants, be peaceful, Vanaspataya, the perennial plants and vegetation, be peaceful, Vishwe Deva, the learned and elderly, be conducive to peace and prosperity. Brahma, may the supreme creator, reliever of pains and sorrows, afflictions, bring us peace. Sarvam, may the universe be peaceful. Shanti Reva, may peace be peaceful. Sama Shanti, may that peace be within us. And 3 times Shanti, may there be cosmic, spiritual, and physical peace. May we be free from adhyatmic, adhivotic, and adhidevik dukh. Bhojan mantra. Om Annapate Annasya no Deyanamivasya Sushmina Prapradatam Tarishur Janno Dehi Dvipade Chatushpade. हे अन्न के स्वामिन प्रभु, आप हमें अन्न दो जो रोग रहित और पुष्टि कारक हो। आप अन्नदाता का कल्याण करो, 2 पाए मनुष्यों और 4 पाए पशुओं आदि में तेज धारण करो। O Annadata, Ishwar, giver of food, kindly provide us with healthy and energy producing food. Grant serenity to those who give food in charity. May all living beings be blessed with energy giving food. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste sabhi ko, sadar namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.